I truly wanted to start my presentation with a few words in Gaelic, but I didn't get past Mina Fail on time. So women of Wicklow, thank you so much for everything you're doing for Works Friday. In preparation for this conference, I looked into the situation in Ireland, and it's truly depressed me. And I really appreciate and admire each and every one of you who shows up and decides to do something in this situation. And now, let me make it a little bit worse for a little time. And I'm going to cover the European context and situation. In a few months, on July 1st, Ireland will take over the rotating presidency of the Council of the European Union, also referred to as the presidency of the EU. This last happened 13 and a half years ago, and it would happen again in roughly the same time, and the presidency lasts for 6 months. During that time, you can expect a lot of very important high-level meetings, very busy side events, and very enthusiastic celebrations of European values and democracy, and that would include efforts to promote and protect LGBTIQ+ rights. I'm not saying this based on my own assumptions, but based on the National LGBTIQ+ Inclusion Strategy 2 Action Plan 2025 to 2026 of the Government of Ireland. One of its strategic objectives, placed under Pillar 4, which is equality and non-discrimination, is to advance the protection and promotion of LGBTIQ+ rights at international level. This includes the UN, the EU, the Council of Europe, the OECD, and the OSCE. It includes embassy networks, outreach and funding initiatives, and specifically the EU's LGBTIQ+ equality strategy and the Irish EU presidency. You can also find this in Ireland's Programme for Government, with the explicit commitment to engage in discussions at key international forums, including the EU and the UN, to uphold the universal nature of human rights, ensuring that these rights apply equally to all individuals, regardless of gender identity and sexual orientation and other characteristics. The Irish LGBTIQ+ agenda is not only an expanding one, but also a pioneering one. In recent years, we have seen the development of a coordinated European agenda in which Ireland plays a leading role and helps shape and export policies across European institutions. Irish politicians and activist politicians have been instrumental in pushing for trans-activist policies in international institutions and in driving the shift to a gender identity focus in the European Union. From Mary Robinson to Michael O'Flaherty, Maria Walsh to Leo Varadkar. At the recent European Parliament vote, 12 of the 14 Irish MEPs supported the call to emphasize the importance of the recognition of trans-identified men as women. This included Irish members of the European political groups of the left, the Socialists and Democrats, the Liberals, and, as the biggest and most influential group in the European Parliament, the European People's Party and Christian Democrats, or EPP, a group driven by a centre-right political vision, of which Fine Gael is a founding member. When it comes to gender identity, the EPP has become an immovable object, and if anything, it has turned into an unstoppable force. Last year, the LGBTIQ+ network within the EPP changed its name to EP Pride. It is an associated entity within the EPP, with Fine Gael as one of its 10 members. EP Pride participated in the creation of the EPP election manifesto, cooperates with the EPP think tank, and gives workshops on strengthening the LGBT+ voice as part of the centre-right narrative. Meanwhile, Fiana Fail, part of the European Liberal Renew group, contributes its part. And both parties join forces in their relentless push to make Ireland best in class and to repent the collective failings of the past. They talk to EU commissioners, lobby to committees and the European Parliament, and have repeatedly made their priorities clear. Expansion of self-ID regulations to include minors and create the legal non-binary category. Comprehensive bans on conversion therapy. A proposal from 2018 in Ireland went so far as to include a global jurisdiction clause concerning Irish citizens abroad. The need to ensure equal recognition for families under Irish law, which means calling for surrogacy legalization nationally and internationally, and hate speech and hate crime laws. All of this comes with continued international advocacy, which is now aided by former Taoiseach Leo Varadkar, who holds a position as senior fellow in the global LGBTQI+ human rights program at Harvard Kennedy School, leading a project titled The Future of LGBTQI+ Rights in the European Union. Here, the trans activist demands transform into policy language and emerge shape-shifted as equality, citizenship, democracy, the rule of law, non-discrimination, inclusion, and values. For this, Varadkar will devise a baseline of rights and protections that every EU member state should aspire to, and will be meeting stakeholders across Europe equipped with connections, influence, reputation, and resources. In this framing, there are three aspects to particularly look out for. One is the burying of women's rights and violence against women in a linguistic and conceptual fog of gender and gender-based violence. Two is a focus on sexual and reproductive health and rights as a policy field, advancing the interests of the male sexual rights movement that disguises the exploitation of women through surrogacy as equality for rainbow families. And three is centering the debate around values and human dignity, using this framing to mobilize programs, campaigns, and resources while expanding the scope of regulation into areas of justice and rule of law, shifting the issue away from women's rights and presenting it instead as a priority concern of democracy. Under the banner of human rights, high-profile and heavily resourced stakeholders are advancing the interests of the sexual rights industry that profits from the sexual and reproductive exploitation of women, while erasing women as a political and legal category altogether. Ireland wants the driver's seat when it comes to shaping this future of human rights. In August 2028, Europe will follow the rainbow to Ireland for Ireland's first Europe Pride. This may all look grim, and it is, but it is important to understand what we are up against and to know where, when, and why we draw a line. Thank you.